Stop asking wrong. Introduction. Imagine if you could ask for what you want and almost always get a positive response. What if the secret to unlocking your dreams and desires was not in working harder or wishing longer, but simply in asking differently? Most people don't realize that the way they frame their requests can either open doors or shut them entirely. Think about it. How often do you hold back from asking for a raise, a favor, or even just a bit more understanding from someone because you fear rejection? The truth is, most of us never truly learn how to ask for what we want, and that's why we so often fall short of getting it. The art of asking is more powerful than you might think. It's not just about uttering words. It's about crafting your message with intention and belief. There's a fine line between demanding and persuading, and the difference lies in understanding how to position your request in a way that resonates with the other person. This audiobook will guide you through that process, drawing on both practical communication techniques and deeper psychological insights. We'll uncover how to make your requests more compelling and how to ensure that your intentions are not just heard, but also felt. Imagine being able to confidently voice your desires in front of others and have them voluntarily agree with your propositions or support your views. Learning the art of asking can change the way you engage with the world, whether it is in your personal relationships, career, or even those seemingly unimportant moments in daily life. Your questioning style has a direct effect on how others view you and react. Expressing your demands in a way that naturally fits with their willingness to assist is more important than trying to control other people. We will examine the typical blunders people make when requesting what they want and discover ways to steer clear of them over this voyage. You'll learn how minor linguistic changes can have a profound impact. We'll explore the significance of timing, the function of confidence, and overcoming rejection anxiety. Writing the ideal sentence isn't enough. You also need to believe in the importance of your request and deliver it with the assurance that draws attention. We'll also examine real-world situations in this audiobook where asking the right questions could mean the difference between success and failure. You'll hear accounts from folks who discovered how to change their strategy and therefore got the chances they previously believed were unattainable. This audiobook will provide you with the skills you need to communicate your demands without feeling guilty, whether your goal is to ask for a promotion or to tell a loved one how you feel. By the end, you'll not only understand why the way you ask matters, but also gain the skills to put that knowledge into action. You'll learn how to craft your words, how to project confidence even when you feel uncertain, and how to turn your desires into reality by simply mastering this one skill. You'll come to realize that asking isn't just a communication tool, it's a gateway to personal growth and success. Are you ready to transform how you ask for what you want? Let's begin this journey together. You might just find that the life you've always wanted is only one confident request away. Chapter 1. The Psychology Behind Asking. Why words matter. Asking for what you want might seem like a simple act, but there's a surprising amount of psychology involved. Have you ever noticed how two people can ask for the same thing and get completely different responses? One gets a firm yes with enthusiasm, while the other faces a hesitant no or a vague promise that never materializes. The difference often lies not in the merit of the request, but in how it's presented. This subtle but powerful difference is rooted in how the human brain processes communication. Mastering the psychology behind asking can completely transform the way people respond to your requests. To understand why words matter so much, we first need to consider the concept of framing. Framing refers to how you position your request in a way that influences how the listener perceives it. Just as a picture looks different depending on the frame around it, the way you ask for something shapes how the other person interprets your intention. For example, imagine someone approaches you with a statement like, "You wouldn't happen to be able to help me, would you?" Compare that to someone saying, "I know you're great at this and I could really use your help." The first statement sets the expectation of a no right from the start. It's hesitant, unsure, and almost apologetic. The second approach, however, not only acknowledges the other person's skills but also projects confidence in their positive response. This subtle difference shapes how the listener perceives the request and influences their willingness to comply. When you ask for something in a hesitant or uncertain way, it subconsciously signals to the other person that you yourself doubt the validity of your request. It's almost as if you are preemptively giving them permission to say no by presenting your desire as something inconvenient or burdensome. On the other hand, when you confidently and clearly express what you need, it demonstrates that you believe your request is reasonable and justified. This sets a completely different tone and primes the listener to consider your proposal more seriously. One of the most common mistakes people make when asking for something is using language that sounds weak or uncertain. Phrases like, "I just wanted to," or "if it's not too much trouble," can make even the most reasonable requests seem burdensome or unimportant. These phrases are so ingrained in our everyday speech that we hardly notice them, but they undermine our message. In contrast, using assertive yet respectful language conveys that your request is valid and worthwhile. Assertiveness does not mean being forceful or aggressive. Rather, it means presenting your needs with a sense of purpose and expectation. This balance between confidence and respect is what makes an ask both compelling and considerate. Another intriguing psychological concept at work here is known as the foot-in-the-door technique. People are more likely to accept a larger request if they have already consented to a smaller, related one, according to this idea, which was initially investigated in social psychology. If someone agrees to a minor favor you ask them to do early, for example, they are more likely to agree to a larger favor later on. This is due to the need for consistency. After demonstrating that they are helpful, people are driven to keep up that reputation. Therefore, you can increase the likelihood that your request will be granted by presenting it as a continuation of prior positive exchanges. Another key aspect of effective asking is understanding the concept of reciprocity. Humans are social creatures with an innate sense of fairness. When someone does something nice for us, we feel compelled to return the favor. This natural inclination means that if you preface your request with a demonstration of goodwill or appreciation, the person may feel more inclined to help. For example, starting your request with genuine praise or acknowledging a previous favor can create a subtle sense of obligation. However, it's crucial that this doesn't come across as manipulative. Authenticity is vital. If your praise feels forced or transactional, it can backfire, making the other person feel used rather than valued. Empathy also plays a significant role in how your request is received. People are more likely to respond positively if they feel that their own needs and perspectives are being considered. It's not enough to simply state what you want. You need to demonstrate that you understand the other person's position as well. This can be as simple as acknowledging their effort or expertise before making your request. For instance, saying, "I really appreciate how busy you are, but I wanted to ask for your input on this project because I value your expertise," shows both respect and intention. This approach not only validates the other person's feelings, but also subtly positions your ask as a compliment, which makes it harder to refuse. Your choice of words is important, but equally important is how you deliver them. Confidence is a key factor. Even when you're nervous or uncertain, adopting a tone that sounds assured can make a significant difference. Maintaining eye contact, speaking clearly, and using positive body language all contribute to how your message is perceived. Studies have shown that people are more likely to agree when they sense the speaker's confidence, even if they don't fully understand the details of the request. Confidence signals that you believe in the validity of your ask, which makes it easier for the other person to believe in it too. However, confidence should never be confused with arrogance. There's a fine line between being assertive and coming off as entitled. When making a request, it's important to express genuine respect for the other person's time, resources, or opinions. This respect forms the foundation of a positive interaction, and people are more likely to support you when they feel valued. One way to practice this balance is by using inclusive language that fosters cooperation rather than opposition. Instead of saying, "I need you to do this for me," try, "It would really help if we could work together on this." By framing your request as a collaborative effort, you reduce resistance and make the other person feel like part of the solution. Your request's reception is also greatly influenced by your nonverbal cues. Your remarks will seem more convincing if you stand with confidence, maintain eye contact, and speak in a kind, relaxed tone. However, even the most legitimate request can come across as less believable if you make tense motions, avoid eye contact, or mumble. In this case, practice is key. Try practicing your requests with a buddy or in front of a mirror, focusing on your nonverbal and spoken communication. This technique guarantees that your message is understood and helps you gain confidence. Starting with low-stakes requests is a useful exercise to hone your requesting techniques. Start with requesting tiny favors or little changes in everyday interactions, such as asking a coworker for prompt feedback on a project or requesting a particular table at a restaurant. Take note of how you ask, how the other person answers, and how your body language and tone may have affected the result. You may improve your strategy and progressively gain the courage to make bigger, more important requests by keeping an eye on these exchanges. Understanding the psychology behind asking is not just about using clever words or manipulative tactics. It's about being mindful of how your message lands with the other person. When you approach asking from a place of respect and clarity, it shows that you value both your own needs and the perspective of the listener. It creates a sense of mutual cooperation rather than obligation. Mastering the art of asking is a skill that can enhance your relationships, improve your professional interactions, and empower you to achieve your goals. The way you ask directly impacts how people perceive you and how they respond. It's not just about getting what you want, but also about building connections based on honesty, respect, and clear communication. In the next section, we will delve into more advanced techniques that go beyond words, techniques that involve timing, intention, and emotional resonance to make your asks even more compelling and effective. Chapter 2: Overcoming Fear of Rejection. One of the most significant barriers to asking for what we want is the fear of rejection. It's a feeling that almost everyone has experienced at some point, whether you're asking for a raise, requesting support from a friend, or even suggesting a new idea. The thought of hearing no can be daunting. This fear can be so powerful that it stops us from asking altogether, leading to missed opportunities and unspoken needs. But why does rejection feel so intimidating? At its core, the fear of rejection is rooted in our basic human desire to belong and be accepted. Social acceptance has always been crucial for survival, dating back to our earliest days as communal beings. Rejection, therefore, triggers a primal response, making us feel vulnerable and exposed. When we anticipate rejection, it's not just the loss of the desired outcome that we fear, it's the personal sting of feeling undervalued or unworthy. This fear can manifest in various ways. Sometimes we hesitate to ask because we predict a negative outcome before we even try. Other times, we downplay our needs or soften our requests to minimize the risk of hearing no. In more severe cases, people may avoid asking altogether, convincing themselves that it's better to keep quiet than to risk disappointment. Unfortunately, this mindset not only limits opportunities, but can also lead to frustration and resentment when unmet needs accumulate over time. The first step in overcoming this fear is to change how we perceive rejection itself. We often see no as a personal failure or an indication that our request was unreasonable. In reality, rejection is often situational and rarely a reflection of our worth. People say no for countless reasons: timing, circumstances, personal preferences, or simply because they are overwhelmed. By recognizing that a negative response is not an attack on our character, we can begin to separate our self-worth from the outcome of our ask. One technique to build resilience is to practice desensitization through deliberate exposure to small rejections. This might sound intimidating at first, but it's remarkably effective. Start by intentionally putting yourself in situations where rejection is a possibility, but the stakes are low. For example, ask for a discount at a store, even if you're pretty sure the answer will be no. Request a small favor from a colleague who doesn't usually help out. The goal is not necessarily to get a yes, but to become more comfortable with hearing no without taking it personally. The more you practice facing rejection in small, controlled ways, the less intimidating it becomes when it really matters. Another practical method is to reframe how you view the outcome. Instead of seeing rejection as a final judgment, think of it as valuable feedback. Each no can teach you something, perhaps about how you framed your request, the timing, or the other person's current situation. By analyzing what went wrong, you can make adjustments for next time. This mindset turns rejection from a source of shame into a learning opportunity, helping you improve your approach rather than discouraging you from trying again. Additionally, mindfulness practices can be quite helpful in reducing the emotional toll that rejection takes. The fear of rejection is frequently worse than the actual experience. You can avoid getting sidetracked by worst-case scenarios and what-ifs by engaging in mindfulness practices. Take a few calm breaths, focus on the here and now, and remind yourself that you are still capable and worthy regardless of the result before making a big request. You may converse more confidently and drastically lower your nervousness by performing this easy self-reassurance exercise. You can change your perspective by telling stories. Think back to times when rejection resulted in something surprisingly beneficial. Even though you might not have landed the job you were hoping for, the experience helped you hone your interviewing techniques, which may lead to a better opportunity down the road. Or perhaps your proposal was rejected, but you were motivated to improve it for greater success by their criticism. You can lessen the emotional impact of rejection by reminding yourself that it might be a learning opportunity rather than a setback. One powerful real-life example is from an entrepreneur named Jack, who faced numerous rejections when pitching his startup to investors. Initially, each no felt like a personal failure, but over time, Jack began to see these rejections differently. Instead of being discouraged, he used the feedback to tweak his pitch and address the investors' concerns. One day, during a pitch meeting where he was expecting yet another rejection, he was instead met with enthusiastic support from an investor who appreciated his persistence and improved presentation. This turning point wouldn't have been possible without Jack's ability to learn from past rejections rather than being defeated by them. Another story comes from Angela, who worked as a freelance graphic designer. Early in her career, Angela found it hard to negotiate higher pay, fearing that clients would walk away. When one client outright refused her proposed rate, Angela felt embarrassed and considered lowering her standards. However, after some reflection, she realized that undervaluing her work was not sustainable. Instead of giving up, she started approaching negotiations with a clear outline of her value, showcasing her portfolio, client testimonials, and the impact of her designs. Not only did this approach increase her confidence, but it also attracted clients who valued her skills and were willing to pay what she deserved. In retrospect, that initial rejection was the catalyst for a more prosperous and confident career. To further develop resilience, adopt the mindset that every no brings you closer to a yes. Salespeople often embrace this concept, understanding that rejection is a natural part of the process. The more you ask, the more likely you are to eventually receive a positive response. This doesn't mean being reckless or ignoring feedback. It means persisting thoughtfully and strategically, even when the answer isn't what you hoped for. It's also helpful to practice visualization before making your ask. Picture both outcomes, a positive and a negative response, and rehearse how you would handle each. This mental preparation helps you react calmly rather than emotionally, no matter the answer. When you mentally prepare for both scenarios, you reduce the shock and disappointment of rejection, making it easier to move forward with grace and composure. Lastly, remember to practice self-compassion. It's natural to feel disheartened when your ask isn't met with enthusiasm, but being kind to yourself in those moments can make a significant difference. Acknowledge your effort and remind yourself that your willingness to put yourself out there is a sign of courage, not weakness. Give yourself credit for taking the risk and use each experience as a stepping stone to greater resilience and success. Overcoming the fear of rejection doesn't mean you'll never feel hesitant or disappointed again. Instead, it means building the emotional tools to face rejection without letting it define you. It means developing the confidence to keep asking, keep trying, and keep moving forward, knowing that every attempt brings you closer to the outcome you desire. By embracing rejection as part of your growth journey, you'll find that asking for what you want becomes less daunting and more empowering. The goal isn't to eliminate the fear, but to reduce its power over you. As you practice these techniques, you'll discover that rejection is not an obstacle, but an essential part of achieving your goals. Chapter 3. Advanced Techniques for Getting What You Want. Now that we've explored the psychology behind asking and why words matter, it's time to delve deeper into more advanced techniques that can significantly increase your chances of getting what you want. These methods go beyond the basics of clear communication and delve into the nuances of strategic framing, timing, nonverbal cues, and the critical role of confidence. One of the most effective ways to increase your chances of a positive response is by framing your request in a way that aligns with the other person's interests. People are naturally inclined to help when they see a personal benefit or when the request resonates with their values or goals. This means that instead of solely focusing on what you want, take a moment to consider what the other person stands to gain from saying yes. This approach shifts your request from a purely selfish appeal to a mutually beneficial proposition. For instance, if you're asking your boss for a raise, it's not just about stating that you've worked hard or deserve it. Instead, frame the request by highlighting how your increased compensation would allow you to take on even more responsibilities or lead new initiatives that benefit the team. By connecting your desire to the company's goals, you're not just asking for personal gain, but positioning it as an investment in the organization's success. This subtle shift in framing can make your request much more compelling. Making your request seem like a logical continuation of a current discussion rather than a sudden demand is another effective tactic. The other person is less likely to feel under pressure or taken by surprise if you present your request gradually. This approach, sometimes referred to as the breadcrumb technique, entails dropping subtle clues or talking about related subjects prior to stating your primary request. If you're going to ask a friend for a favor, for instance, begin by talking about the circumstances or background before bringing up your request. It is much simpler to make your request if the discussion organically shifts to the pertinent subject. The timing of your request is also very important. Individuals' levels of receptiveness can differ significantly based on their workload, attitude, and even the time of day. Pay attention to the other person's mood before making a big request. Are they agitated, distracted, or rushing? A big impact might be made by waiting for a calmer or upbeat moment. According to studies, people who are feeling well are more inclined to grant requests because they are more receptive to new ideas and more giving of their time and money. Additionally, making your request during a moment of shared success or after a positive interaction can increase the likelihood of a favorable response. This is because the good feelings generated by that moment can spill over, making the person more inclined to accommodate your needs. Timing your ask to coincide with positive emotions is not about manipulation. It's about being thoughtful and considerate of the other person's current mental state. Your tone and body language are just as important as the words you use. When you deliver your ask with enthusiasm and genuine passion, it becomes more contagious. People are drawn to confidence and are more likely to say yes when they sense your sincerity. Smiling, maintaining good posture, and using open, inviting gestures all contribute to a positive impression. In contrast, fidgeting, looking away, or speaking in a hesitant tone can undermine your message. Practice your delivery to ensure that your body language matches the conviction behind your words. One verbal strategy that works especially well is the employment of a presupposition. This entails wording your request to imply consent in a subtle way. You may ask, "When would be a good time for you to assist with the project?" as opposed to, "Would you be willing to help with this project?" You can lessen the possibility of opposition by incorporating the premise of agreement into the inquiry itself, because the listener automatically interprets the remark as though they have already agreed, concentrating more on the specifics than on whether or not to comply. This strategy works. Adding narrative to your request can also increase its persuasiveness. Because stories appeal to our emotions and imagination, people are drawn to them by nature. Try encapsulating your request in a succinct, sympathetic story rather than just stating it. Instead of saying, I need your support for this initiative, For instance, you could briefly describe a previous obstacle you conquered with their assistance, highlighting the important impact of their participation. This tactic anchors your request in a framework that emphasizes its beneficial influence while also flattering the audience. Another crucial aspect of asking effectively is demonstrating vulnerability without appearing weak. People respond positively to honesty and authenticity. Sharing why the request is important to you on a personal level can create a deeper emotional connection. However, it's important to maintain a balance between expressing vulnerability and retaining a sense of confidence. A statement like, "I could really use your support on this because it means a lot to me, and I know how skilled you are in this area," combines both elements. You are honest about your need while simultaneously acknowledging the other person's strengths. It's also essential to be prepared for potential objections and respond to them thoughtfully. Sometimes people hesitate not because they are unwilling to help, but because they have concerns or reservations. Acknowledge their hesitation without dismissing it. You might say, "I completely understand if you're unsure. Could you share what might be holding you back?" This invites a dialogue rather than shutting down the conversation. Once you know their concerns, you can address them directly, showing that you respect their perspective while reinforcing the importance of your request. In situations where your ask is particularly significant, consider offering a small reciprocal gesture as a way of balancing the scales. This doesn't mean bribing or offering something insincere, but rather showing that you're willing to contribute in return. For example, if you're asking for assistance with a project, mention that you're happy to help with their workload in the future, or share your own expertise when needed. Reciprocity builds a sense of mutual support, making your ask feel more like a collaborative effort. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, the answer might still be no. It's important to handle rejection gracefully to maintain the relationship and keep the door open for future opportunities. Express gratitude for their consideration and keep a positive attitude. You might say, "Thank you for considering it. I really appreciate your time and thoughts." Leaving the conversation on a positive note not only shows maturity, but also makes it more likely that they'll remember your respectfulness when you make another request in the future. Advanced questioning strategies combine excellent communication, emotional intelligence, and strategic thinking. You build a far stronger basis for success by carefully weighing the other person's viewpoint, phrasing your request in a way that suits their interests, and boldly communicating your point. These strategies will enable you to handle talks with more poise and influence, whether you are negotiating at business, asking friends for help, or making a personal appeal. Asking for what you desire is an art form, not merely a competence. It calls for patience, practice, and the flexibility to modify your strategy according to the situation and the person. Gaining mastery of these sophisticated strategies can improve your relationships, increase the likelihood that you will acquire what you want, and establish you as a perceptive and persuasive communicator. Chapter 4. The Role of Intent and Belief. One of the most overlooked aspects of effective asking is the mindset you bring into the interaction. Too often, people focus solely on what to say and how to say it, without considering the underlying intent and belief that shape their words. Your intention and belief system are the foundation upon which successful communication is built. If you don't truly believe in what you're asking for, it shows both in your words and your demeanor. Have you ever asked for something with a sense of doubt lingering in your mind? Perhaps you felt uncertain about whether you deserved what you were asking for, or if the other person would think you were overstepping. That hesitation leaks into your tone, your body language, and even your choice of words. It's as if your subconscious is signaling to the other person that your request isn't important or justified. This lack of conviction can easily lead to rejection or a half-hearted response. To increase your chances of success, it's crucial to align your intention with a strong belief that your ask is not only reasonable, but also beneficial. This alignment begins with internal preparation. Before making any significant request, take a moment to clarify why you are asking for it and why it matters. Visualize the positive outcome and how it will benefit both you and the person you're asking. This practice is not about tricking yourself, but about genuinely recognizing the value of your request. When you feel convinced of its worth, that confidence naturally radiates through your communication. Changing your perspective from one of neediness to one of opportunity is a powerful way to bolster your belief. Consider, this opportunity will benefit both of us, rather than, I really need this. This small shift in viewpoint lessens the nervousness that frequently comes with making a significant request. It also assists you in concentrating on the good instead of worrying about being rejected. Another important factor in how your request is interpreted is its intent. People are able to tell the difference between when you are acting and when you are truly involved. Even if your remarks seem courteous, they may come out as manipulative if your motivation is solely self-serving. However, your intention feels more sincere and respectable when it is based on mutual gain. When you seek a co-worker for assistance on a project, for instance, you should aim to collaborate with them to achieve a better result rather than just reduce your workload. Visualization is a useful technique for reaffirming your intention. Before submitting your request, picture yourself doing so with assurance, outlining your justifications in detail and hoping for a favorable answer. Imagine how the other person would respond and how you would respond to their hesitancy and agreement. In addition to increasing your self-assurance, this mental practice equips you to maintain composure no matter what happens. Another important component is having confidence in your own value. We may subconsciously minimize our needs out of a concern of coming across as demanding or self-centered. But it's crucial to keep in mind that everyone has wants, and requesting what you desire does not automatically make you conceited. Think back to instances where you were hesitant to ask and how that choice impacted the result. It's more common to regret not asking at all than to ask and be denied. Reminding yourself of the possible benefits and your entitlement to ask for help or chances might help you develop a mindset that promotes proactive communication. One powerful example of this mindset in action is seen in the world of negotiations. Successful negotiators believe that what they are proposing is not only fair, but advantageous for both parties. This belief shapes how they present their case, focusing on creating value rather than just extracting concessions. The same principle applies to everyday tasks. If you believe that your request is fair and beneficial, you naturally communicate with more assurance and enthusiasm. Another key aspect of intent is setting clear goals before entering the conversation. What exactly do you want? What would success look like? Having clarity about your objective helps you avoid vague or indirect language that can confuse the listener. For instance, instead of saying it would be nice if you could help out more, specify what kind of help you are looking for and why it's important. Clear intent leads to clear communication, reducing the chance of misinterpretation. Equally important is the ability to detach from the outcome. This might sound counterintuitive, but when you are overly fixated on getting a yes, it can create pressure and anxiety. Instead, approach your task with a mindset that values the process over the result. Your goal is to express your needs honestly and confidently, regardless of the answer. This attitude not only reduces stress, but also makes you appear more composed and self-assured, qualities that people respect and respond to positively. Another practical technique to boost your belief and intent is affirming your purpose before you make your request. This could be as simple as reminding yourself, I am worthy of asking for what I need, or my request is reasonable and mutually beneficial. These affirmations may seem simple, but they help prime your mind to approach the situation with confidence rather than apprehension. It's also valuable to practice self-reflection after the interaction, regardless of the outcome. If the response was positive, analyze what worked well and how your intent played a role. If the answer was negative, don't immediately assume that your ask was unreasonable. Instead, consider factors such as timing, context, and the other person's perspective. Sometimes, a no is not a reflection of your worth or the validity of your request, but simply a matter of circumstances. Finally, remember that cultivating the right mindset is a continual process. Even the most confident individuals have moments of doubt. The key is to consistently practice aligning your intentions with your belief in your own worth. The more you do this, the more naturally it will come to you. With time, you will develop a sense of self-assuredness that makes your requests feel both assertive and considerate. By mastering the interplay between intent and belief, you significantly enhance your ability to make compelling requests. People are drawn to sincerity and conviction, and when your inner confidence matches your outward expression, your chances of success increase exponentially. It's not just about saying the right words, it's about feeling right about saying them. Chapter 5. Case Studies, Success Stories from Everyday Life. Although theory and methods are important, topics are frequently better and more memorable when shown with examples from everyday life. This section will examine some real-world case studies that show how developing the skill of asking can change circumstances and results. These varied tales highlight societal, professional, and personal settings where good questioning had a big impact. These anecdotes will demonstrate how the concepts we've covered are applied in real-world situations and teach you how to apply them to your own life. Let's start with an example from the business world. Sarah, a mid-level manager at a marketing company, felt that her career was at a standstill. She had not received a promotion in years despite her diligence and hard work, and younger co-workers were beginning to surpass her. Sarah's natural tendency was to keep putting in more effort in the hopes that her commitment might one day be acknowledged. But after having an open discussion with a mentor, she discovered that she had never really approached her supervisor about her career aspirations or requested a promotion. Equipped with this knowledge, Sarah made the decision to confidently and preparedly ask her manager a question. She framed her request around her contributions to the company's success, rather than just saying that she sought a promotion. She gave concrete instances of campaigns she had successfully led and described how her abilities had improved the team's output. Most significantly, she presented her request as a means of continuing to make a greater contribution to the organization rather than merely as a personal wish. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Her manager admitted that while her work had always been appreciated, her ambitions hadn't been as clear as they could have been. Within a month, Sarah was promoted to a senior position. What made the difference was not just the quality of her work, but her willingness to ask confidently and strategically. This case highlights a common barrier in professional settings, assuming that hard work will speak for itself. While dedication is crucial, direct communication of your aspirations often makes the difference between being noticed and being overlooked. Sarah's story demonstrates how intentional asking, combined with clear evidence of value, can lead to significant career advancement. Now let's shift to a more personal context. Mark had been dating his partner for a few years and was increasingly frustrated that they hadn't discussed moving in together. He was hesitant to bring it up, fearing it might pressure his partner or create tension. However, after some reflection, Mark realized that his hesitation was rooted in fear of rejection rather than a lack of desire. He decided to approach the conversation differently. Instead of framing his request as a demand or an ultimatum, Mark opened the conversation with curiosity. He asked his partner how they envisioned their future and expressed his desire to share a home together as a natural next step in their relationship. By framing it as a shared vision rather than a personal wish, he made his partner feel included rather than pressured. To his surprise, his partner had been thinking about the same thing but hadn't known how to bring it up. The conversation turned into a productive and exciting planning session rather than a source of conflict. This story illustrates how approaching personal asks with empathy and openness can transform potentially tense situations into collaborative discussions. By focusing on shared goals and expressing his feelings honestly, Mark created a safe space for both of them to explore the idea without fear or resistance. Now consider a social situation involving community effort. Carla, a passionate environmental activist, wanted to organize a neighborhood cleanup. Initially, she posted about it online, but the response was lukewarm. Instead of giving up, Carla decided to take a more personal approach. She started reaching out individually to community members, explaining her vision and how their involvement would make a significant difference. She made it clear that even small contributions of time would be greatly appreciated and tailored her pitch to each person's interests. By shifting from a generalized online post to personal targeted conversations, Carla's project gained traction. People appreciated being asked directly and felt that their participation genuinely mattered. Eventually, the clean-up day was a huge success, with dozens of neighbors showing up, far exceeding Carla's expectations. This example highlights how personalized asks, rather than broad appeals, can foster stronger engagement and commitment. Another compelling story comes from the world of entrepreneurship. Raj, a young startup founder, needed mentorship to help his business scale, but felt intimidated to approach industry leaders. Instead of sending generic messages or asking for long-term commitments, he decided to start small. Raj identified a few potential mentors whose work he genuinely admired and reached out to them with specific, thoughtful questions related to their expertise. Rather than asking for ongoing mentorship outright, he sought advice on a particular challenge his startup was facing. This approach worked because it was respectful of the mentor's time while showing that Raj had done his homework. One of the mentors not only responded with valuable insights but also offered to meet for coffee. Over time, this connection grew into a mentorship relationship that significantly impacted Raj's business. The key here was not immediately demanding a major commitment, but instead building rapport through small, meaningful interactions. Finally, let's look at a story about family dynamics. Lisa, a mother of 3, felt overwhelmed with household responsibilities and noticed that her teenage children were increasingly disconnected from chores. Instead of complaining or issuing strict orders, Lisa decided to hold a family meeting. She expressed how much she valued their help and shared her feelings about being overwhelmed. Rather than assigning tasks unilaterally, she invited her kids to discuss how they could pitch in while balancing their own schedules. This collaborative approach not only led to a more organized chore distribution, but also made her children feel respected and heard. They suggested ideas she hadn't considered, and because they were part of the decision-making process, they took more ownership of their tasks. Lisa's success came from shifting from a top-down approach to one that invited participation and acknowledged her children's perspectives. These stories all emphasize one core truth: how you ask makes a profound difference. Whether in professional settings, personal relationships, community initiatives, or family dynamics, the principles of clear intent, mutual benefit, and respectful communication consistently lead to more positive outcomes. Successful asks are rooted in understanding the other person's perspective, framing the request in a way that resonates, and maintaining a confident yet considerate demeanor. By learning from these real-world examples, you can see that asking effectively is not about luck or innate charm. It's a skill that can be developed and refined. The more you practice approaching your asks with clarity, intention, and empathy, the more naturally you will receive positive responses. Whether you are seeking career advancement, deeper personal connections, or community support, mastering the art of asking will empower you to create the outcomes you desire. Final thoughts and practical takeaways. As we come to the end of this audiobook, it's important to reflect on the journey we've taken together. We've explored the psychology behind asking, delved into advanced techniques to maximize positive responses, discussed the critical role of intent and belief, and shared real-world stories where mastering the art of asking made a profound difference. Now it's time to consolidate these insights into practical takeaways that you can start applying in your life right away. One of the most fundamental concepts we've discussed is that asking is not just about what you say, but how you say it. Your words, tone, and body language all work together to convey your intention. The biggest mistake many people make is not believing in their own right to ask. This internal doubt seeps into your delivery, causing your request to come across as weak or hesitant. The first step to effective asking, therefore, is developing a mindset of worthiness. Practice affirming your right to ask for what you want. Remind yourself that asking is not selfish. It's a way of advocating for your needs and aspirations. Next, remember the importance of framing your ask strategically. Think about how your request will sound from the other person's perspective. Are you positioning it as a mutually beneficial opportunity? Are you acknowledging their potential concerns or workload? By anticipating their perspective, you can shape your ask in a way that aligns with their values and priorities. This isn't about manipulation, but rather about showing respect and consideration. Timing too plays a crucial role. Before making your ask, assess the situation and the other person's emotional state. Are they stressed, distracted, or in a hurry? If so, consider waiting for a better moment. Timing is not just about choosing a convenient time for yourself, but ensuring the other person is in a receptive state of mind. Catching someone at the right moment can drastically increase the chances of hearing a yes. Another key takeaway is the power of specificity. Vague requests often lead to vague responses. If you want someone to help you, be clear about what kind of help you need and why it matters. Instead of saying, "Could you help me out sometime?" say, "Would you be able to help me with this project next Wednesday for about an hour?" The more specific you ask, the easier it is for the other person to assess and agree. You've also learned that confidence is essential, but it needs to be balanced with respect and empathy. Confidence doesn't mean bulldozing your way through a conversation or disregarding the other person's feelings. Rather, it means conveying your ask with self-assurance while remaining open to dialogue. Confidence inspires trust, while respect fosters cooperation. Combine the two, and you'll find your asks are not only more persuasive, but also more positively received. Practice makes a significant difference in how natural and comfortable you feel when asking for something. Start small. Practice your asking skills in low-stakes situations where the outcome doesn't carry too much weight. This could be something as simple as requesting a minor change to your coffee order or asking a friend for a small favor. Notice how your tone, wording, and confidence affect the response. As you build success in these smaller scenarios, you'll gain the confidence to tackle more significant tasks. You can use storytelling as a tactic to significantly increase your success rate. Stories captivate people because they make your request relatable and emotionally compelling. When it's suitable, include a brief personal narrative that explains the significance of your request. For example, you may say, "Your insights really took the project to the next level the last time we worked together," when you're asking a coworker to work with you on a project. "It would be a pleasure to collaborate once more on this new task." By bringing up a satisfying prior interaction, you not only show them appreciation, but also establish a standard for future collaboration. Knowing how to react positively and being ready for a no are equally crucial. The way you respond to rejection can affect how you connect with people in the future. Express gratitude to the individual for taking the time to consider your request, rather than responding defensively or personally. "I totally understand," you can reply, "and I truly appreciate you taking the time to consider it." You can keep the relationship positive and open the door to more prospects by ending the conversation on a positive note. If your request is turned down, pause to consider why. Did the timing go wrong? Were you asking for too much or too little? Did you fail to take into account the other person's legitimate limitations? When you consider the reasons behind a no, you can gain important knowledge for your subsequent try. Sometimes just a small change to the way you phrase your request might have a significant impact the next time. Another useful lesson is the significance of striking a balance between boldness and adaptability. Express your needs clearly, yet be open to compromise. This flexibility demonstrates your appreciation for the other person's opinion and your readiness to come up with a solution that benefits both of you. By using this technique, you improve the relationship and your chances of success. Finally, develop the habit of expressing gratitude, whether your request is granted or not. Gratitude reinforces positive interactions and shows that you value the other person's time and consideration. Even if your initial ask wasn't successful, expressing thanks can leave a lasting positive impression, making the other person more inclined to help in the future. In the end, mastering the art of asking is about more than just getting what you want. It's about building respectful, reciprocal relationships where both parties feel valued and heard. It's about communicating your needs with clarity, confidence, and empathy. Whether you're seeking a career opportunity, strengthening a personal relationship, or rallying community support, the way you ask profoundly shapes the response you receive. As you move forward, remember that the skills we've discussed are not just techniques, they are part of a mindset shift. Asking effectively is about embracing your worth, articulating your intentions honestly, and creating space for open dialogue. It's about empowering yourself to take action and inspiring others to join you. Take what you've learned here and start applying it in your everyday interactions. Begin with small, intentional asks, build your confidence, and gradually tackle more significant challenges. As you practice and refine your approach, you'll find that your ability to ask effectively becomes second nature. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, every time you choose to ask with intention and belief, you're not just making a request. You're taking a bold step toward shaping your reality. The power of asking lies not just in the words you choose, but in the conviction behind them. Practice it, believe in it, and watch as your world starts to align with your aspirations. I hope you feel empowered to put these principles into practice. Your voice matters, your needs are valid, and your ability to ask is a skill worth mastering. Go out there and start asking for what you want, confidently, thoughtfully, and with purpose.